I have a dual 510. That's a manual turntable with an auto stop belt drive that the pitch control is not functional. So let's fix it. I have a dual 510 turntable. Customer complaint, pitch control does not work. Pitch control on these is a small little belt that links to another, like a gear driven, like a cam that moves up and down on the motor shaft itself and actually drives a pin down into the motor, which expands the, well, you'll see when I take it apart here. So let's first of all take the belt off. And now we can lift the turntable out. Okay, when you turn the pitch control, this little toothed belt is adjusting this control here, and you can see here what happens. It raises this adjuster up and down, and what this adjuster does is it actually pushes a pin which is inside here. You can see it inside the motor shaft there. It pushes it down or up, and it's supposed to come up on its own, but what happens is they get stuck and they don't move. So when this comes up, that pin is supposed to rise, which the pin is actually what's holding it's spreading out the fingers on the pulley shaft here. So what happens is these get stuck, and we have to kind of try to unstick them. To do that, I'm going to actually remove the motor on this unit. And there are two types of motors. There's an 840 and an 860, and the 840 motors had a tendency sometimes on some of them to actually start up at a faster speed. So I don't know whether this is an 840 in this one or an 860. It could very well be an 840. And those motors were problematic. But let's just take the table out here first, and we'll see what it's got. Okay, this one is the 840 motor that's on this one. You can see it here. There's a sticker on the bottom that identifies it, right? Motor SM840. So the 840 was actually problematic. It doesn't affect all of them, but sometimes what happens, there's a bad pole. It's an 8-pole motor, and one of the poles goes bad, and it can cause the motor to start at the wrong speed. It'll start at basically double the normal speed, and that's a well-known issue on many of these units. So I'm just going to set the unit in like this. Actually, I can turn it around, and we'll turn it upside down just so that I can set the table upside down and protect the tone arm, because I want to lift this motor out so I can take I want to take the rotor out, see if I can free up that bearing. So I actually have to remove the motor to do that, and it actually comes out from the other side, and then I have to take the motor apart. The motor lifts out from below. Now I want to pull the motor itself, the bearing apart. So we'll just loosen off the bearing cap. I want to try and I should be able to lift this out here. I got a couple more screws, I think. I want to take the actual stator off from the cover. Like that. Okay. Now I want to get the motor bearing out. Whoops, don't want that to fall out. That's on the brackets that goes on here. We'll just leave that sit over here like this for now. What I need to work on is I need to work on this piece, because what's happened is this shaft is seized up. This is supposed to slide up and it's stuck. So what I need to do is I need to loosen this piece off so that I can take this piece apart. This middle pin here is what's frozen up. This is supposed to be spring-loaded, I think, to push itself back up, but it's stuck. So I need to unstick that and lubricate it. So if I pull this up, you'll see what I'm talking about here, this middle pin in the middle. It's like a little wedge, and when it presses down, it opens up the pulley, but it's supposed to spring back on its own. Obviously, we can't put oil in there because oil will spin out through the slots in here and get over the belt. So we have to kind of lubricate this thing, and but not with conventional oil, because that's going to cause more problems. So I'm just going to loosen the shaft. So that I can remove it and see if we can clean this. So that pin slides out now quite easily. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean with some alcohol. I'm just going to clean these pieces, get any gunge off them. To say I can't put oil on here because the oil will certainly cause slippage problems on the belt. So I'm just going to clean this up. Same with clean in here. Get any dirt and stuff out of here. When this fits in here, the spring action of the collar trying to close on this should push it back up. So when you press down for the pitch control, you can see now how it's working. See that? When the pitch control pushes down on the top, it will spread out the little fins on the slots here on the drive pulley. This is the 33 speed. That's the 45. But you'll see it enlarges it slightly. I'm going to close up a little bit closer up. I don't know if it'll stay in focus, but we'll try so you guys can see. But here's the normal action. When it gets pushed down, and then when you release it, that's how it's supposed to work. Now it is. It was sticking before. All I did was just clean some gunge off of there. I'm going to lubricate the bearings here on the actual rotor. And again, this is a 840 motor, and these ones were notorious. They sometimes would run at double the speed. They had a bad pull. Whether this one's a bad one or not, it may need to be changed, because this is the model of motor that had the problems. But we'll check that out and see whether it's going to be a problem or not. I'm just going to put a drop of oil in the bearings and put this thing back together. So now, as you can see, everything is working smoothly, so I can start to put the motor back together. See whether this thing's going to work properly. So that goes into here. Put a drop of oil into the lower bearing as well. And now you can see when the pitch control is turned, it lowers this down, which will spread the jacket of the pulley. Turn it the other way, which makes the pulley slightly larger. Turn it the other way and it will go back the other way, and it will now raise it up. Okay, that part's working. Let's put the motor back in place here. Gotta put this toothed belt around here too first to adjust the pitch. So it goes into here like this, and then around the adjustment. We'll also put a drop of oil down into the main bearing here while we're at it. So we'll try, like the present, to lubricate the unit. And of course, reinstall the belt. It goes like that. Okay, let's provide some power to this unit, and we'll see whether it runs at the correct speed. So what we want to do on this is we want to get this so that the speed is correct when the pitch control is in the middle, because you've only got one rotation from one end to the other. And I have a strobe over here, so I'm a little bit fast. So what I want to do is I want to try and get this in the middle. So there's a if you notice down here, this little pointer down here, you can see it right there on that collar. When it's in that middle position, that's about where we want the speed to be correct. And how we adjust it is we adjust it by adjusting this nut here one way or the other. And then we'll check the speed. And we want the strobe to be stationary when this control is there, so that you have a variable up and down. So I'll start the turntable playing, and I can see that if I don't know if how it's gonna show on camera, but I'll try and get a shot of it here. Again, I don't know how it's gonna appear, but I'm slightly fast there. So I'll put this back to the center. And I'm going to have to come up. I'll just bring it up a bit, maybe a 16th of a turn, and we'll check the speed again. A little bit more. I'm perfect right there, and as you can see, I'm just a little bit off center, so I need to just come up just a little smidge more, maybe a quarter of a turn. And I'll show you guys the strobe in a second here, once I get this set right. Okay, I'm pretty darn close there. Let's take a look at the strobe. Okay, there you can see it, stationary. And if I adjust the pitch control, I'm now going up in speed, no, going down in speed. And now I'm coming up in speed. So the pitch control is now fixed. Let's check this unit out and see how it sounds.
Sit on my face and tell me that you love me. I'll sit on your face and tell you I love you too. I love you.
That appears to work. I'm going to try this a few times just to make sure the thing doesn't start up at a fast rate, because again, this is a known motor issue on these ones. And we may have to try and find an 860 motor if this one's going to act up. But what it was brought in for was that pitch control problem. So I show you how to clean that up and make that pitch control work, and how to calibrate it once you've got it back together. So that I think will pretty much finish up this video for now. We'll test this a few more times and make sure it's going.
Airways, Ingram's Drive.
Make it go on the right speed. Yeah, it's going the right speed. When that motor fails on these, which it does, the 840 motor, some of them were bad. Others were okay, but some of them were bad production. But when it starts up at twice the normal speed. So when that is an issue, yeah, the thing just takes off. So you'll know if it's going the wrong speed.
Blow me away, sit on my face and let my lips embrace you.
Play this song.
There stroked was he by maidens of the Orient.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
What do I think of dead duck? Or lobster?
What?
This turntable, obviously, it's not an automatic turntable. It's a, they call a manual stop. So what happens on these ones is at the end of the record, they just pick up the record and stop. They don't return the tone arm or anything, just lift the arm and stop. This is what's called a semi-automatic turntable. Manual start, automatic stop. But it's going the right speed now, so that's good. Anyway, that's about all I can do on this one right now. We'll test it some more and say if that motor's acting up. I'm going to have to, we'll have to see if we can find a different motor for it. But at this point in the game, the motor's working. The pitch control was a problem, and that's how you fix it. Thanks for watching.